Hi, welcome. My name is Angelique, and today I'm talking about the last but not the least moon in my moon series, Moon in Pisces. This is about understanding this placement through the lens of mythology and symbolism. And so today, if you have this placement or you know anyone that has it, you're interested in astrology, might be able to help understand this placement as it relates to emotional healing and inner child healing. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go on. But if it's your first time listening to me, I've been a student of astrology for over 30 years. I have a background in counseling, mental health, psychology, so I really love to I love to dig deep and continue to dig and just find out like what's going on, what might be driving our behaviors, our patterns, and this can look like spiritually and energetically, which astrology is really tied to, but also what is maybe driving our wellness goals, our body, our relationships, our romantic partnerships. So, astrology is a really good tool to kind of look at our whole life and see what are the strengths, what are maybe some challenges, and find out like what are some practical things we can do to make our life more full, more balanced, more enjoyable. So I like to start by just breaking down the mythology of the sign and then tying it together with the placement of the moon. The moon in astrology really relates to our emotions, our intuition, but also childhood and their motherhood. So when we look at a chart, their natal chart, and we find the moon, that can kind of give us an idea of what their childhood might have been like, what their mother or parenting they might have experienced. So that's how I'm going to look at it today. But the sign of Pisces, very dreamy, but also hard to pin down and has that watery quality. And if you try to have a hold on water, it slips through your hands, right? So it it's a sign that a lot of people struggle to figure out because it's so intangible. And a lot of it gets that quality from the rulership of the sign. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the mythology. I did more about the rulers in my episode. I talk about the sun in Pisces. You can learn a little more about that if you want. But Pisces traditionally is ruled by Jupiter, and in modern day Western astrology, the ruler is Neptune. So gonna focus more on Neptune, but Jupiter is part of it too. So Jupiter has a leader quality, but also a spiritual leader and a leader that really like to expand his reach. So that's going to give the emotions of Pisces this need to really be free and expansive and just needing to express itself in the most free way possible. There also could be a need to express these emotions might take on sometimes a more spiritual quality. So we can see a lot of psychic development from people who have Moon and Pisces. So their intuition, psychic abilities could be very, very strong. And then with the ruler of Neptune, that is the god of the sea, the ruler of the sea. So Pisces in the moon sign, the emotions are going to take on this almost sometimes mysterious quality, very emotionally deep because the sea is what? It's deep, it's dark, it is mysterious. We might not know what's going on in there. So any emotions that are maybe have a lot of depth are going to show up more with Moon and Pisces. So we think of creativity and artistic expression here because we're pulling from the deeper parts of ourselves when we have Moon and Pisces. That's why a lot of artists, a lot of actors, especially on a bigger scale, they have Moon and Pisces because you have to dig deep to create truly meaningful art that connects with other people. So it's not a surface level, easygoing placement when it comes to emotions. This can uh, be almost an undoing placement if the emotions are not navigated in an appropriate way, if the person doesn't know how to handle and channel the emotions, because we have water meets water here, which can be great for those aspects I just talked about, being spiritually inclined, being a spiritual leader, or being a creative, artistic person. But in day to day, it can make emotions strong all the time. You might be feeling so deeply, and you're also, because of this very watery placement, you're going to be very sensitive and empathetic to other people and their emotions. So you might just be feeling things so strongly, so deeply, so intensely day to day. And so that's why an outlet for these emotions can really help these people, because escapism can be very common with Moon and Pisces. Like I said before, these emotions, when they are just like, and when you have so much water energy here, we can be pulled under metaphorically by these emotions. And you think of so much water that turns into a flood. People are being pulled under. It's hard to breathe, it's hard to catch your breath. So people with Moon and Pisces can feel this, maybe especially when in their younger years, that their emotions are just so all consuming that it can be hard to be rational, to go about your day-to-day life if something is happening to you, because you can react so strongly and so deeply. So, for an example, someone Moon in Pisces, if they are going through a breakup, that could significantly and negatively impact their day to day more than some of the other placements, because they feel it so strongly. They might just have a hard time working, might not work at all. That could lead to not having a job, not having finances, not having things paid for, because they might not be able to detach and set aside that emotion to focus on something else, if that makes sense. So it can be harder in the younger years, and even until middle adulthood. This placement is challenging in the way that there needs to be a routine to express your emotions, have an outlet, be useful, but then to compartmentalize. So to know when to feel, know when to let it out, and also know that it's okay to feel that deeply and that strongly. And so we get a lot of placements, or a lot of people who have these placements, that can escape through drugs and alcohol, through just like having intense depression episodes, or times where they're just sleeping all the time, because feeling this intensely and this strongly can be exhausting. It can make it difficult. It can make it more difficult to have um, a lot of practical, impartial relationships, because you might feel so strongly about somebody, but you're missing the red flags because you were just connecting with them. And that kind of crowd, it makes seeing people for who they really are can make it more challenging and even confusing. So you can experience betrayals, be friends with people that maybe you thought were your friends, but they weren't, and you just didn't see it. So there, a lot of hurt can come, especially in the first half, or I should say the first major act of your life, before the age of 40. It can be really difficult. So when it comes to childhood, people with Moon and Pisces could have been children who had a mother figure, or a or parents that did not allow them to express themselves fully. So it might have been um, just frowned upon, or it could have been something more unspoken. So there could have been a more restrictive energy in the household when it comes to emotions, that you hide them, that you uh, aren't open about them. You don't really say how you feel. So this can lead to a lot of passive aggression or just passivity with other people. Um, there also might have been a likelihood that the moon Pisces child grew up with a lot of unsafe events and situations in their life growing up. This could be from the parent or just in the household, that their childhood maybe had a lot of things that were unsafe. And this could be emotionally unsafe, physically unsafe. And it's a very sensitive placement that wants to be held and supported. So, parents or caregivers that maybe had erratic, unpredictable behavior, or their behavior or actions were deemed very aggressive or unsafe. And so, what that creates is a child that needs to kind of walk on eggshells, needs to become very intuitive, might need to really tune into how a parent or a caregiver is feeling for their own safety. There also just could have been a suppression of the arts in the home growing up. So, very often, somebody Moon in Pisces might just not had an opportunity or was really held back from expressing themselves creatively. So, I'm thinking acting, any of the arts might have been frowned upon or told was like, you can say like, this is a waste, you shouldn't do that. um, there there are different ways that this placement can come up, but those are just some generalities. Overall, it just might have been difficult for someone with Moon in Pisces to express their full creativity, their emotions, to really channel it in a way that felt free and safe. So coming into adulthood, what we have is, like as I said before, a lot of people's placements can have issues with escapism, drugs, alcohol, any substances that alters their reality, that puts some distance between themselves and what they're really feeling, anything that numbs them out. So alcohol can do that for a little bit, or just anything um, to stop them feeling maybe so intensely. But the best way to heal this placement is to feel comfortable expressing yourself and to feel deeply. Emotions do not hide and do not go away. So the more that you repress, the more that you numb out, they're just still there building under the surface, and then it can come out in a not great way. So it's important to find a way to express your emotions when you have Moon in Pisces in a safe way. The arts are a really great outlet. Acting, singing, poetry, film, photography, any night routines, especially calming routines at nighttime, could be really beneficial. Especially having alone time too. All of the very watery nature of this placement means that while you are very good at picking up emotions for other people and helping them, you can take on energy too much from other people. This is one of the strongest water placements because Pisces relates to the sea. So it's vast. You can be all consuming of other people's energy and emotions. So it's important to have alone time, even if it's 5 minutes here and there a day where you just close yourself off in a closet, bathroom, your car, just having that time to reset, to check in what emotions you're feeling. Are they yours? Are they yours to hold in this moment? Do they serve you right now? I will say also any self care that involves the feet could be really good. Pisces rules our feet, so salt baths can be very puring and purifying and caring. I don't know. Mercury is in retrograde while I'm doing these videos, so speech kind of flubby. Uh, so yes, feet taking long walks, especially in the water, going near the ocean, the sea, or just even giving yourself a foot massage and maybe some essential oils or something water based. Water can be very healing for you energetically and emotionally. So, um, any negative interactions you have or just very deeply emotional, going in and taking a shower, taking a bath, rinsing off your feet can help feel more energetically healed and balanced. Okay, that's what I have for you today. If you have Moon in Pisces, I'd love to hear how this resonates for you. You can leave a comment if you are inclined. But otherwise, thank you again so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.